My wife.
My wife.
Greetings, everyone. I am Sir Johann Gasmask, Esquire the Third Arms Merchant Extraordinaire. Today I am joined by...
I am Alfonso Gallier, dashing Represvando.
I'm Lionel Johnson. This episode's gonna make me cringe.
Hi, I'm Nymphy, and I'm a descendant of the Eldari.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lion, to be fair, you are cringe anyway.
Hey!
So today, we're doing the Eldar, parentheses, craft world. Which means we're starting off good, because these are some of the dickheadiest of dickheads of all elves. Unless you count the Dark Eldar.
I was going to say, the Austriani aren't that bad. They're
Okay, look.
snooty.
They're dickheads, but they're not sadists.
They exist,
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna
enough
say-
for me.
From what I
Us.
recall, and I'm going to again, from an outside perspective, because I haven't played Eldar in a million years. What I recall is the Austriani, the Craft World Eldar, were the ones that didn't want to go full Amish, but also realized, oh, that was a bad idea. Let's not do that again.
Yeah.
When it came to the whole creation of a certain creature.
They're essentially they're the Amish or Gypsies, but this time with RVs.
Honestly, the Amish would be the Exodus.
And if you have any questions at all, Nymphy, feel free to ask. We will try our best to answer them.
Hold on, because
Then I'm going to be peppering you with.
I am very
questions
surface
about-
level.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to think I know a little bit of these guys, but they're not my main favorite factions, so...
Makes sense.
Sadly, we do not have an expert
After
this time.
the debauchery.
Yeah. Alright.
That's alright. From what I know, that resulted in the creation of the Prince of Pleasure.
He who thirsts.
Yes. She who thirsts. These are the ones that got onto giant spaceships and just fled away as far away as possible from the thing. What is their actual significance to the rest of the story? Are they just nomads? They're just nomads that like run into you every now and then, or are they bad? Or are they good?
I'd call them neutral. There is no technical good guy.
Okay.
Most
Except
of the
human.
time, well, yeah, but there is most Craft World Eldar have a goal of just being left alone. However, there are I wouldn't say factions, more like task forces that go out into the wider galaxy and fuck with everything to make sure that they can be left alone. And to do that...
If we're going to talk about the Asuryani, then we have to be talking about the various craft worlds.
Oh, yes.
So generally, the Asuryani, aka the craft world Eldar, are aligned strongly against chaos, but they are they have a problem. It's the problem they have is their population and their weakness to chaos, specifically against Slaanesh. They can't directly... It's unsafe for any Eldar to directly engage with the forces of chaos, and they therefore will generally, with some exceptions, try to avoid dealing with it, but they're also not like going around just breaking things. Like you said, they generally want to be left alone, but that does depend on who you talk to, because for example, I believe it's the Biel-Tan are just... We want to bring back the Eldar Empire, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. We are making more of ourselves. Get out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny, because last I checked, and we'll touch this more on biology, they don't reproduce good.
No.
Wait, why not?
They're
not like rabbits? They are like rabbits.
Have you ever heard of the heard of the term use it or lose it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used it, then lost it.
They lost it forever?
They got a little
No,
worn
no,
out.
no, 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 no. Just like
Low
due
spurt
to
now.
yeah,
They got worn out because of the
yeah,
debauchery?
yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's like an addiction.
Yeah.
So they're basically most of the Eldar most of the Craftworld Eldar are members of the debauchery version of Alcoholics Anonymous,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that they abstain, it's that there's a risk involved with, from what I understand, there's a risk involved if they are to engage in certain activities, and also since they're super duper long lived, they're really weird mentally.
Okay. So this is what I'm imagining.
Mhm.
Craftworld Eldar, and like they have like sex addict meetings. Or like, oh shit, yeah, it's been a while since I was.
Well, it's more like
I still have urges, but I know I shouldn't because it's ruined my life. It's ruined their life. You know what I mean? Like, is that the deal?
kinda.
It's
There are some that remember the fall, and so they probably are very shell shocked and very skittish about it.
Well,
I believe it's the Farsi or leader of the Youthway that was alive during the creation of the Eye of Terror. I might be wrong on that one.
Are they some of it?
He's been
Farseer
alive forever.
Uthred. Oh, one second.
I
But,
forget his name. It's the same one that tried
it's-
to warn Fulgrim about Horus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eldred
Yeah.
Uthran.
Yes.
However, yeah. So we'll touch on the reproduction thing in
In the biology.
Overview, they spend like probably 90% of their time alive on craft worlds.
Mm-hmm.
That's like as a collective species. The other 10% is, I'd say maybe like 7.5% are privateers, corsairs, space pirates, essentially.
Yeah.
And also don't forget things like Rangers are available in
Oh, yeah.
Raider. There are Craftworld Eldar that will integrate into the Imperium of Man, not completely, but to sort of see the wider world, air quotes.
And then that other 2.5% is military action.
Yes.
Wherein they will take, wherein a Farseer, which is a type of Eldar Psyker, will have a vision and say, oh shit, we need to do something, or in 1,000 years, we might get slightly inconvenienced.
I mean, you're underselling it slightly on how Farsight works. I think my favorite quote is directly from the leader of the former leader of the Uthway, which was the way that farseeing is that it's seeing every possible effect of the butterfly effect in fractal multiplicate, and then deciding which side of the coin it's going to land on by taking a step to the left. Yeah. This was actually because I just read The Infinite and the Divine. That's actually a big thing in it. Is the Exile Farseer knew from the beginning what was going to happen, and knew exactly what was going to happen, and decided what they were going to do. And it's really sad at the end. I won't spoil
it. They'll have these visions, which is, essentially seeing every possibility of damn near every action they can take, ranging from doing nothing to, I'm guessing at some point, galactic genocide. And then they'll decide what's the best outcome, or what the best choice of action, let's say.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. And then they will take this action, which is usually military. And then they will scrape together a bunch of warriors and go on holy elf jihad, essentially.
In the name of what?
The Eldar race.
Not always.
Oh yeah,
Not
no.
always in the name of Eldar race. It could be also, I believe it's Kayala Menshakin.
Well, yeah, no. They
Or,
have. They do have gods, but it's sort of like. This is kind of like a history thing, but once upon a time, the Eldar created gods in the warp specifically to work as tools. So Caleb and Chicane wasn't really a ruling influence over them. It was more a weapon, if that makes sense.
Almost like a warp servitor.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying when you think about how one becomes an avatar of Caleb and Chicane. If you've ever seen any of the media related to that,
yeah, it's
I'd almost rather become a servitor.
What does that entail?
You are entered into I believe you have to become an aspect warrior first, which means you have to dedicate yourself to a method of war. It's a path that the Eldar can take. It's very spicy because it makes you very risky against Slanesh, because you can be like, "Oh, I really like this. Oh no," and then immediately Slanesh just has your butthole.
Yeah.
But if you decide to become an avatar of Cain, it's effectively suicide.
Yeah.
You are, and it's not like, oh, I die and my soul stone gets saved. It's, I'm feeding the engine of war with my literal, eternal, millennia-year-long and millennia-year-old soul. All of the memories that I have ever made, all of the love I've ever had, everything that has ever made me who I am is being destroyed and burned away, and I'm turned into a physical form of a warp avatar of pure violence.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's
awful.
It's essentially becoming a demon host.
Yeah.
But probably less, fucky.
And your soul is being fed, like drained away, like slowly until
eaten away by Cain, which they consider, by the way, to be a better death and a better destruction than just to die without a soul stone in. Because then they go, and ain't nobody want that.
Okay, so how do these soul stones work then? So I don't.
So
okay, so for what I know
we
is
talk
that
about it in biology, but
Okay. So you want me to just like hold that and put it back in?
Yeah.
Going on from through overview, one thing we kind of have to mention is their path system. They will so what they'll do is they'll start on a path and they'll stick to it until they've mastered it. And then once they're done with that, however long that takes, they'll find a different path and start down that. This includes anything from, I'm guessing, sanitation worker to, fucking warrior general.
Anything that you can imagine having a college degree in the human mortal world, there is an Eldari path, a craft world path toward it. And the whole point is, the idea is that at the end of it, you are capable of almost supernatural, well, actually, often literally explicitly supernatural ability in that field. Like, Eldar live forever. Like, I don't think they have an expiration date. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It might be like a couple millennia, but I think
I want to throw one of them at the Hrud.
Oh no!
Is that unethical?
I'm
a Necron basically, so it's fine. Ethics don't matter anyway.
Yeah.
I want to toss one at the Hrud and see how long it takes before they turn into a corpse.
Toss it at the what?
So Hrud,
creature that can
Hrud have weapons that can accelerate your aging until you're basically dust.
Oh, that's horrible. What the fuck is it called? What is that?
Yeah, but to go on with the paths is they take these paths because A, they're so long-lived, they need something to do, and B, they do it to prevent essentially falling to Slanesh. Because
Yes.
they feel emotions to a quite frankly ridiculous degree compared to humans. That,
Yeah.
like, even a craftsman making a masterwork chair, according to them, due to, the way they feel emotions and their strong psychic connection with the warp, uh, they have a risk of falling to Slanesh just by, being really good at something.
Like being like really passionate, right?
Yeah.
Like passion itself can.
Yeah, they can find, and I am massively understating here, they can essentially find euphoria in building a house.
And
Yeah, I
they
can see
have
that.
Yeah.
they have what I jokingly call bipolarity. They everything they feel is cranked up to 1,000,000,000.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why the reason they created all of this stuff is because they live forever and they feel everything incredibly strongly.
Yeah.
So over time, everything just gets insane. And
Uh,
that's what the paths are for,
yeah.
is to kind of keep them cycling through challenges uh, and something for them to focus on that is outside of themselves and outside of their physical or mental realm. And as soon as they master it, they move on to the next one. Not always, though.
Yeah.
That
Usually.
I don't know if you want to talk about that now or if you want to talk about it later, but Phoenix Lords are a thing and they are locked in.
I will get into that in organization, because they
Okay,
are
okay.
a rank technically,
All
but
right, that's fair.
they they do all of this because, and they also put, I'm not sure, but uh I've got a suspicion that they also put heavy restrictions on, like, what kind of luxuries they can have, either as a person or as a society, because in the way before, they did have, the Slanesh thing, the incident, and that was caused
Mm-hmm.
by them basically, uh, it was their capacity for emotions, their psychic connection to the warp, and the fact
Mm-hmm.
that they were so advanced as a society. It was, imagine, like, the upper echelons of society in, like, Cyberpunk 2077, where everyone's super rich, no one really works, everything is provided to them by automation.
Mm-hmm. It's the eventual cumulative and final result of automated space communism.
Yeah. uh
Yeah, that makes sense.
no one had any struggles, so everyone was either doing art, doing
It's a
sex, or
renaissance, yeah.
doing BDS, or doing S&M.
Or doing sex-related art.
Yeah, it's just an entire species in the Renaissance
Unfortunately,
period.
as their
Yeah, sorry,
society went on, all three of those kind of combined to the
Mm-hmm.
point that it was very, very uncomfortable for anyone that was sane.
Yeah, because they were constantly trying to push the boundaries of
Exactly.
what they could
Yeah.
feel, right?
It
Because
it
the thing that you were doing last week is not as now it's like old news. It's not going to go through. And
they were seeking higher and higher levels of feeling and
ecstasy.
emotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for them, that's what it is. Is effectively it's an ecstatic. I swear to God, this is in one of the codexes, but they describe how an Eldar feels,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a constant roiling oscillation between pure unbridled, like pure raw dopamine and pure raw every negative emotion humanly possible.
Mm-hmm.
What, like constantly, or are you talking about
Yeah,
like?
pretty well constantly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
They have hyper bipolar.
Like
I
if they're
wasn't
just
joking.
walking, if they're just walking on the sidewalk, like
Yeah.
they're feeling that.
yeah,
Because they're thinking to themselves, "Oh, what is the texture of that? I understand how this was made.
yeah.
I know
The way
who
they
made it a
feel
million
things
trillion years ago,
isn't
and all this
yeah.
stuff. It's super crazy."
The way they feel things and the way they are, and this kind of this is a good segue over to biology. The way Eldar are, they are hyper evolved beings essentially. They
Artificially
can
hyper evolved as well.
yeah.
Are we going to talk about that?
That's a debate. We'll talk about it a little bit later
Okay.
on in this segment. But actually, it'll probably be in the history segment. Eldar can feel things that we can't feel. They could feel the like differences in texture in like different manufacturers of glass. They can smell things we can't. They can hear and see things that we can't. They can notice
I think
the
they can
most.
explicitly see into the infrared spectrum, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
That wouldn't surprise me, which would honestly explain why they notice like human mannerisms so much, because we just pump out pheromones and shit without even realizing.
And this is one of the reasons why the Eldar don't like humans, is because to their perspective, we both literally and figuratively reek.
Yeah, we are.
We're just
Oh shit!
Yeah,
a
I can see
overflowing
that.
cocktail of hormones and feelings,
Mhm.
and they can feel, smell, and taste all of it. And you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
They
I can see that.
they
and stay
can
100
I
feet
feel like
that
we
way.
towards humans already.
yeah. They can read our like they can read micro expressions that literally no one else on humans, that literally no one else in humanity probably ever discovered.
Now the problem with this is and this isn't it not only is a problem for them, but it's a problem for writers.
Yeah.
And this is why there's not a lot of really good Eldar books.
Mm-hmm.
I will die on this hill.
Yeah.
The Eldar books are very, because Eldar is very difficult to write from a first person perspective.
Yeah.
So you sit there and somebody's trying to describe this, and it's like, if a writer forgets for one instant that an Eldar is this way, it can get very
Yeah.
I also think it's hard for a human to pretend to to write like an Eldar.
Yeah.
It's almost like a third of
that
three-dimensional plane and trying to describe what fourth dimensional shapes look like.
yeah.
Exactly. That's a great.
Speaking of, that actually goes well into other things. For example, they like move very like they move way different than a human would. Like,
if I recall correctly, they don't have it as a rule on the tabletop, but they do have it as having being written when they're being viewed by a human.
yeah,
Is that they have the same kind of transhuman dread that Space Marines have, where it's because they're like 7-something feet tall and they move like.
I thought they were tall. I thought they were like space.
They might actually be.
Wait, are you talking about Eldar? Like the height?
Yeah.
They're like 7 feet tall. Right?
I think so. I think they might be between like Space Marine and human. That wouldn't surprise me. To continue on and to answer your earlier question, Nymphy, the way I understand it is that way back during, before the collapse of the Eldar Empire, the Eldar kind of fucked up their reproductive system because they used it so much.
I do know that the gestation cycle is quite a bit longer.
That too, yeah.
Like years.
Yeah, it takes multiple years for an Eldar child, essentially, to
be born.
Yeah. And to top it all off, they don't, reproduce a lot either, because, the whole Slanesh and emotions thing.
Yeah, it takes one mistake.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that the reason that they aren't more powerful, this is the big nerf to them, because every faction has one thing that's a big nerf to them to make them not super duper hyper overpowered and still be cool.
Yeah.
Their big nerf is if they make a microsecond mistake, it doesn't take much. It might not be an actual microsecond, but if all they have to do is just stumble, and Slanesh has them.
Yeah.
And they either are dead, insane, or both dead and insane.
Alright, well, what's an example of a mistake you can make?
Enjoying yourself too much.
Yeah.
Okay, but how does Slanesh get a hold of an Eldar? Like, is it
So
like an
Slanesh
instant, like,
is...
demonic
So,
possession,
yeah.
or is it like a slow thing towards?
I believe that Slanesh just literally yanks their soul. I might be
Yeah.
wrong on that.
So all Eldar...
Citation needed on that, though.
Yeah. All Eldar are connected, whether it be Dark Eldar, Craftworld Eldar, or Exodites.
We're going to talk about the Dark Fate here.
Yeah, might as well. It's a good point.
So when they created Slanesh, because of the way that the warp works and the way that the universe and the setting kind of function, all of the Eldar were culpable for that. It was like an original sin. Yeah. This is actually a great way to think of it, is Slanesh is their original sin.
Yeah.
And there's no repentance. There's no getting out of it.
Yeah.
The only things that they have that are options are to either put their wear a soul stone, which can act as a ward against it, or do what the Drukhari do, which we won't talk about the Drukhari right now, the Dark Eldar. Yeah. But the Dark Eldar found a way around it that's...
Well, it's, let's just say they feed on S&M. Hyper-violent...
That meme?
Well, no, it's...
That meme, it's like, it's very clear that we've gone too far, but let's just keep going and see where it ends.
Yeah, how I would describe it is they feed off of hyper-violent, non-consensual S&M.
Yeah,
but that's the Drukhari.
Yeah,
that's a whole episode on its own.
Yeah, well...
The Craftworld Eldar, the way that they protect themselves from Slanesh generally is through the use of soul stones. The soul stones act both as a ward against Slanesh, because at any point in time, Slanesh can just kill them if they're not protected in some way.
Well, it's not that Slanesh, actively can kill them. It's that Slanesh is at all times feeding on their souls if they're protected.
Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry, I'm incorrect. Because that's why Hegarak, however you want to pronounce that thing's name, he plays dice. He steals the soul. That's for the Harlequins.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's other stuff. But basically, when a Eldar dies, if they don't have some way of protecting their soul, it goes to Slanesh. Yeah. It goes to hell.
It goes to hell to be tortured forever. Like, they're eternally damned. Yeah. What you're saying?
Yeah, eternally damned, effectively.
That's horrible.
Oh no, it's awful. I mean, it is their own fault, but it is awful.
I mean, like, for any Eldar born after that, like, it's not their fault. Like,
and that's the part that's
doomed, right?
Yeah.
Would you want to have a child into that reality?
No. Okay, that makes sense then. That makes sense. So that comes full circle for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a combination of effects, and that's what really nerfs them. Is they can't. Growing and expanding is very dangerous, and at any point in time, they're always really dealing with the danger of Slanesh and the danger of their own mind, because they didn't get rid of all of that. It's kind of worked into them.
Yeah.
So even the Craftworld Eldar are at risk of just being like, well, today I'm going to go too far. I've chosen violence today. And if it's not in a controlled, focused manner through the paths, it risks bad things happening.
Mm-hmm.
But biologically, they are humanoid, as I'm sure you could tell from all the images of them. But their metabolism, their neurology, their circulatory system, all of that, it's much faster. It's much more. It's not more advanced, but it's more complicated and more sensitive, is what I would say.
Yeah.
So they a normal human can actually feel I believe it's a 1 micron difference in a surface texture with your fingertip. Believe it or not, they could feel like a even smaller. Like everything about them is a bit more touchy, but that also makes them more sensitive to being overstimulated, being that's why they feel their emotions so wildly. It's because they're moving at a faster pace on a regular basis. Their minds are moving faster, and they're more sensitive to everything. So all the lights that are super bright are even brighter for them. All that kind of thing.
It's essentially like taking like the shielding off of a radar, right? You
That's a
might
good way of putting
see more, you might see a lot more, but
We can also get burned out.
yeah, God forbid
Right.
someone turns on a microwave while you're looking at it, you know?
That's such a
super
good
cool.
comparison. Yeah, that's very cool.
This is why I love the Eldars, and like I said before, I would love to see them more explicitly not be treated like humans.
Yeah.
In the fiction, and get more exploration into things like their rune working and wraithbone and all that other stuff, because it's so beautiful. Wraith singers, my God, I love the concept.
We'll get into those guys in technology.
Yeah, Wraith singers are super cool.
But that kind of goes into history real well because
Their biology.
it is, yeah.
And it's not their fault that they're like this.
That's
and
only.
I will fight people who say
it's. I will say this.
Being canon.
I will say this. It is only theorized, mostly because almost none of the characters we've interacted with in 40K can confirm it because no one was alive back then.
That's valid. What we need to do is go walk up to the Silent King, kick him in the shins, and be like, "Hey, did this happen?" But he's too busy running away from the Tyranids.
So the theory is that, and I'm only saying this is a theory because we haven't, confirmed it. But theory. I like to think it's pretty fucking close to canon. But the theory is that the Eldar were biologically engineered or evolutionarily advanced by a race called the Old Ones, so they could better help the Old Ones fight off the Necrontyr and their gods and
the Catan.
Yeah, it was like 50 million plus years ago, some shit.
Yeah, it's an obscene amount of distance ago, and the concept is that these powerful, ancient, psionically gifted warp beings brought themselves, because from what I understand, the theory is they really couldn't do much in the physical world.
Yeah.
Because they're almost exclusively warp.
Are we talking about the Catan or the Old Ones?
The Old Ones. The Catan are physical.
I am 99% sure that the Old Ones are essentially just the the Toadmen in the Lizardmen army and
I know.
Fantasy?
Everybody thinks they're the Lizardmen. Yeah, I know.
But they're essentially a race of hyper-evolved beings that they're good at two things, and they do them to a quite frankly ludicrous degree. One of them is genetic engineering, essentially.
And I heard they were the ones responsible for the creation of Korks.
Yes.
And
this is the reason why they are almost definitely canon, is because the Korks canonically did exist.
Yeah.
So,
I'm pretty sure the Old Ones are canon. What
they're
little
very rarely mentioned.
What little we've seen of that conflict, they are canon. They're also theorized to have made the Tyranids, but that's a whole other thing.
I don't buy it.
We're gonna box over that.
That's more of a fan theory than anything else.
Yeah,
that's definitely a fan theory. I've never seen anything towards that. But
to go on from this, the Old Ones, adapted, quote unquote, the Eldar to help them fight the Necrontyr. The whole war in the heaven happens. The Eldar come out of this with two things. Well, technically three. They come out of it with highly advanced biology,
Mm-hmm.
Wraithbone, and the Webway. With this, they build a galaxy-spanning empire that, well, as things went on, it turned into what Star Trek actually would be like, which is,
Hedonism.
yeah, non-stop orgies and eventually murder fucking.
Now, to be fair, this wasn't a thing that happened over the course of 100
Oh
years.
no,
This is a
it
thing that
happened over millennia.
Yeah, this is over a time scale that the written language of humans in our universe pales in comparison. Like
Right.
this wasn't like day one, oh, we won, hooray, let's celebrate. Day two, we are grinding against our genitals against chainsaws. No, it took a little while to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, and that's an obscene amount of time.
Yeah.
That's
We're talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years for this to happen.
And
so that was a long time for everything to
Yeah.
be like perfect, basically, in their society.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, their society was kickstarted by the old ones, and
It was like
they
heaven.
couldn't. Yeah,
Mhm.
No
they
hunger.
couldn't. Yeah, they couldn't
Just-
really handle it. So they
And to be
started
fair,
going in.
I suspect if the Great Old One thing gets confirmed based off of some of the other stuff that I've read that is canon, that it was the Great Old Ones and their genetic tampering that caused both the rise, but also not just the rise, but also the fall.
Yeah,
Because the orcs, the way that they deteriorated is very strongly hinted in many different canon sources to have been due to how the Krorks were modified.
yeah.
So we can blame the old ones for everything as usual.
I kind of want to see
And-
what the pre-Krorks were, but that's a whole other thing.
Probably just squigs.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
So what happened was the Eldar Empire started going on a decline.
Mm.
And people started to see this, whether it be, reading the writing on the wall or, having dreams and seeing the future type shit.
And I want to underline, this wasn't a small amount of people that had problems with it. Not everybody was going completely banana ham. It was just enough of them to create a critical mass, sort of like how a black hole is created when enough stuff gets crammed into one space.
Yeah.
The really sad part is there are entire civilizations, not only of Eldar, of non-Eldar, that were just erased because of the fall.
Yeah.
And not because the Eldar, and a lot of times those Eldar were completely innocent. They weren't doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
They were either Exodites, they were doing their own, they were literally basically Eldar Amish.
So we'll touch on that real quick. What happened was the Exodites left a good number of years. We don't have an exact timeline.
No, we don't. No.
And, fled to the farthest reaches of space that they could to escape what they saw as an impending collapse. The Craft World Eldar essentially hopped in their Winnebagos and fucking floored it.
Yeah.
Are you saying like leading up to the birth?
Yes, leading up to the
Or
birth.
leading up to it, not after.
No,
Like
no.
It would have been too late if it was after.
This is well before.
Okay, so they were like, alright, I think our society's kind of getting kind of weird, and I think something bad's gonna happen. Let's just...
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
a doomsday prepping thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, that's actually a great way that I would describe the Craft World Eldar. is they are the preppers that survived
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
and didn't
They're-
immediately
yeah.
go full raider.
Well, they're not just the preppers that survived. They're the preppers that got school buses and turned them into zombie apocalypse mobiles, essentially.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I love Craft Worlds. I wish we had more on Craft Worlds.
yeah. From there, and then, the birth of Slanesh happened. And concerning the Craft World Eldar, a good number of worlds were lost. A number of them were caught in the blast that birthed Slanesh,
The
destroying them.
Uthway, I believe, were just barely outside of it.
Yes, they were. This blast, by the way, caused the Eye of Terror, which is...
Oh no, they were caught inside of it, right?
Yeah, they were caught
actually in the Eye of Terror.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Ugh.
So is the Eye of Terror just like a giant portal into the warp?
It
Like
It
a
is-
in reality.
It is a massive perpetual warp storm, which is essentially where,
it's-
take some cling wrap. That's the barrier between, reality and the warp. Now you take a needle and you just poke a fuckload of holes in it. That's a warp storm.
Yeah.
fuck
It's a
hole or
wound
one
in the
giant
fabric of
hole?
reality.
Depends on the size. Usually it's one. In this case, the Eye of Terror is, instead of a needle, they took a hammer.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. Actually, can you just drop in the chat a picture of the galaxy? And then
Yeah.
the giant, horrible space butthole in the near center,
Yeah.
like slightly to the left, that is the Eye of Terror.
Where?
One
in
sec. I'm trying to find an
Yeah,
old
take your
one. It's
Yeah, because we don't want to talk about. I was about to say the Eye of
I want to
Terror and
avoid
the
that.
creation of Slanesh is the most astronomically and thaumaturgically. What would that be? Would that be thaumaturgically?
Oh, what's the
I think it's
word?
a tech. It means magic.
Okay.
Thaumaturgy means magic. So it basically was the most significant event in the entire galaxy until Angron cut the galaxy in half.
Angron cut the galaxy in half?
Oh yeah, that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
When was that? Is that like a new
Fairly
thing?
recent.
Yeah.
Oh, fair. What? I didn't know he had that power.
That was Abaddon.
No, yeah, that was
I thought
Abaddon.
it was
Yeah,
Angron that did the
Abaddon.
cutting.
Yeah,
No,
Abaddon.
it was Abaddon.
Yeah,
I'm
Abaddon
wrong
destroyed Cadia, which destroyed the Cadian Gate, which was essentially
Oh, and that was
Necron
what's holding
tech.
everything up.
Yeah, and then the Eye of Terror exploded
Oh,
outward. like
I'm
a
sorry.
bullet.
I'm sorry. Angron cut a planet in half. He didn't cut the galaxy in half.
It's still
so
pretty crazy.
you see that little
Ew, I
red,
believe it.
orange, pinkish thing
Where?
in the top left of the map? I
Where?
posted it in Conclave Chambers.
Conclave chambers.
Yeah.
Alright, I see it.
Yeah, that's the Eye of Terror. Terror.
The thing on the left, the red thing.
Yeah, that's...
And that's where Cadia was. And that was like the last line of defense?
Well, no, in this map, it's still there holding the
It's
proverbial
pretty-
prolapse closed.
So is that what the significance of Cadia was?
Yeah, it was, they called it the Cadian Gate. It was sitting on pretty much the only stable warp route out of the Eye of Terror, which is where all of the Chaos Warriors were holed up.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah,
That's a whole thing.
yeah, it's a whole thing. Basically, planet go boom,
Train go boo.
yeah, planet go boom, whole exploding, essentially.
An entire thousands and hundreds of thousands of planets got eaten up by that. So fucking
Yeah.
scary. Cosmic horror, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. And it was it essentially shot out across the galaxy, cutting it in half.
What?
But
The Eye of
This is
Terror
much
once
later.
Cadia exploded, but that's much later.
Cut the Galaxy in half. I don't even get how that's physically possible.
Well, it didn't physically
Yeah,
cut
warp.
it in half. It separated it because it was essentially a giant warp storm from one end of the galaxy to the other.
It's really spooky looking. I love it. It looks like a
Yeah.
Mandelbrot fractal. I love it.
Yeah.
Let me see what that looks like.
Hmm?
Let me see what that looks like. Like
Oh yeah,
Alright.
the
somebody can pull that up.
aftermath. Yeah, I want to see what the aftermath looks like.
But after the birth of Slaanesh,
Yeah.
there was a great panic of people trying to figure out how not to die. The Chikari figured out a way. The Craft Worlders figured out a way. The Exilites figured out a way. And then the Harlequins were hiding in the warp, and then they figured it out as well. I don't know what the timeline was for which one did which first, but it can be safely assumed that the Craft World Eldar figured it out fairly early because their numbers, because otherwise the Uthway would have been destroyed. They might have actually figured it out beforehand.
From my understanding, it wasn't so much figured out as either the remnants of or one of the remaining gods essentially handing down the technology, because
That would make a lot of sense.
I forget
Yeah.
what the soul stones are specifically called.
They're probably the Tears of the Healing.
Or
God, if I were to guess.
it's the something blood. No, I don't want the fucking soul stone. I want soul stones from spirit stone, whatever.
But the craft world at this point, so there's several craft worlds. Obviously, they're not, especially during the fall, were not interconnected. They were very isolated from each other.
Mm-hmm.
All of the ways that the Eldar had for, well, not all of them, but most of the ways they had for communication or had for any kind of exchange of ideas or material between each other were destroyed. They were just wiped off the map in a night, effectively. And they
are
struggled.
called the Tier of Isha. Soul stones.
Yep, it's Isha. Isha. Yeah, of course it's Isha.
Yep.
My girl Isha, she's hanging out with Nurgle now.
Yeah, I heard about that. Like, is that okay with her?
No. He
Probably
keeps
not, no.
her in a cage so he can dump his fucking
Diarrhea?
Horrible things
essentially, yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That is what it
The
is.
Eldars, you're gonna find that's literally the fate of the Eldar. Is just, oh, that's bad, and it's like, no, it gets worse.
Yeah, so in
It's
the
their own fault, it's not
in the actual collapse, a lot of the Eldari gods were eaten by or destroyed by Slaanesh.
Mm-hmm.
There were very few that survived.
They were warp deities, right? Like they were
Yeah.
actually sentient.
They were
real
warp entities.
warp entities.
Yeah.
They were real.
I would call them deities. They're powerful enough to be called gods.
Yeah.
The ones that survived, to our knowledge, were Cain, though he was shattered. So Cain was shattered into a million pieces.
Okay,
I think Khorne actually saved a good bit of Cain. But
yeah, they sound like cousins. They really
yeah.
So is Cain the Eldar Khorne?
It essentially, yeah, he is their war god, essentially.
He's he's very much. He's really aesthetically, he's awesome.
Yeah.
But he does have a lot of Khorne vibes.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing that I love is that he's got a bloody hand because he killed his own brother, and so his hand bleeds forever because he slew his own brothers. That's why Cain, like, it's kind of on the nose because this is back old Warhammer 40k.
Yeah.
So he's named Cain, like Cain and Abel.
Yeah. What were you about to say, Lion?
I was about to say, in lore, the avatars of Cain have kind of been shit on. Because, yeah, at this point, they're kind of just used as a way for someone to write how badass a certain character is when they kill one.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is frustrating.
Yep.
It's the warp effect.
There's, like I said, there's Cain, there's Chagorek, Kagorek, whatever, the clown god.
I love Chagorek.
Glossy.
Shut the fuck up. There is Isha, and there might have been a few others that sort of just like. That's towards
or
the
Yunari.
end.
Yunari.
Yeah. No, it's Unid.
Oh, is it Unid? Yeah, because Yunari is the girl that is basically.
Yunari is the phrase for
That's the one that
faction
got
of the
Robo
Eldar.
Girly Man.
No, Yunari is the faction.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
the names are hard.
Yeah.
I think those are the only gods that survived.
Yeah,
I don't think there was any other ones that actually managed it.
Unid wasn't technically alive until very recently.
He's a sleeping god.
Anyway.
He's a dead god of death. Okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Once that happened, after the collapse.
Yeah. Short version. Though,
there was
is
those
most
three.
Of the gods got murked, and they used to have a lot of them, and all of them got nom nom by Slanesh as it continued to grow powerful.
Yeah.
The ones that didn't die either had to run away, had to hide, or had to use some kind of shenanigans to get away from being contractually obligated to be feed for this giant horrible monster.
Yeah. Chagarak pretty much just fucked off into the webway. Isha was kidnapped by Nurgle to be used as the PETA bunny, I will call it, because, animal testing and all of that.
Yeah. She was effectively his favorite test subject because she can't die.
Yeah.
That's freaking horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's the goddess of life, so she just keeps healing.
Yep.
Oh, that's horrible. I mean, it must stink. It's like a sewer.
But to be fair, what she does is she's on the front line of it now, where she gets it exposed to her and she heals it. And then what she'll do is whenever she can, she'll whisper the cure out into the universe.
Dude.
So that Nurgle's most horrible plagues can't be. It's so beautiful.
Bless her heart. Bless her heart.
I know. One of these days, somebody's going to do a rescue op for her, and it's going to be...
Please.
Oh!
Please.
The only reason I want the Eldar to win is so that they can go into Nurgle's backyard and just be like, listen, we want Auntie back. She gave us the way to survive. We're going to take her back.
That is so
There is no option.
Yep.
Oh my god, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
To continue on, after the collapse, Eldar society...
All the craft worlds were...
Yeah.
Whacked.
Scattered and whacked. There's a whole convoluted plot that came out recently about how they were actually all connected, and they all had a shard of, or a sword of some bullshit or other to help break up the Death God.
I could understand maybe communicating through the webway or through intermediaries and meeting each other in passing and being aware. But it's almost direct. Like it would have to be a direct retcon for them to be like, oh, they were actually exchanging material. For example.
I don't think they were. It was more like a spiritual connection more than anything.
Which, okay, Eldar, I'll allow it. It's
after a while, they discovered the webway paths to each craft world. Rediscovered, because after the birth of Slanesh, that's gonna fuck up everything related to the warp, and the webway is technically
are they incapable of warp travel?
I think they can. It's just not recommended.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go in the warp if I was an Eldar.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
you can't even think about it.
That'd be a terrible idea.
It's a thing in like the Rogue Trader video game.
Okay.
You do get an Eldar Ranger, and you can take her on your ship through the warp. It's just while you're in the warp, there's certain encounters you can have relating to.
Oh, okay. So canonically, in games, and I would consider Rogue Trader to be 100% canon.
Yeah.
So if they're doing it there, then it can be done.
Yeah,
it's just you gotta have a really good Geller field.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it in numbers either because, it's a Geller field.
One Eldar's a torch, a handful, or a bonfire.
Yeah. The Geller field can only suppress so much.
At this point is about so the craft worlds are scattered. Eye of Terror happens. Sometime X amount of time after this is when the Imperium of Man kind of rises the first time. This is the Dark Age of technology. Because the Eldar were already crashed before that, right?
Yeah, it should. I want to say they crashed somewhere coinciding with the fall of like the pre-Imperium human empire.
Oh, so like the Dark Age collapse was around when the Eye of Terror happened?
That's what I want to say.
I'm not super knowledgeable on it.
Yeah,
Do you know,
there's.
Wait. So that again?
So when did the Eye of Terror pop? Was it before or during the human collapse, the Dark Age of technology, and the collapse of that?
It was the cause of the collapse.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
And then after the collapse of humanity, just to give some everybody who's listening context of relative of where the Eldar shit is happening relative to humans. Then the Eldar, and I love this again, Infinite Divine, great book, read it. They describe the wheel of existence, like the Samsaran wheel, and that the Eldar fell as humanity was rising.
Yeah.
And then humanity fell, and now Orican wants to make it Necrons rising. I was like, it's not gonna happen yet.
No, the Necrons already fell. They've had 50 million years. They can shut the fuck up.
Yeah. It's like, well, I'm just waking up. It'll be fine. I was like, shut up. Go away.
No. Go back to bed, Grandpa.
That kind of is the state that they were in, is trying to survive and trying to figure out what was going on until what is this now? Not Ultimum Segmentus. What is the age of now?
No, I don't think there's an age to it. It's just current year, essentially.
Indominus.
Oh, the Indominus Crusade and all of that.
The Indominus, quote-unquote Indominus era, which is current year in
Warhammer 40K. There was the fall of Cadia, wherein more or less the Ynnari faction...
Like, in context of the Eldar.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, round about the time of the fall of Cadia, the Ynnari are starting to come about. This... I don't... Is it the Storm of Chaos? Or some... The time leading up to that, Yvraine is helping out...
That's her name.
Yeah. Is helping out with...
the Ultramarines?
Yeah, helping out the Imperium, trying to get Gilliman back on it to better fight Chaos, so that they have some breathing room to go about and start doing what they need to do with in order to bring Ynid to life. I don't know all of the details. I refuse to read those books.
Oh, trust me, you'll love it.
I might. Anyway,
because do you want me to tell you the really core concept of it is?
What?
All the Eldar have to die.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They go to bring back their death gods so that the death god can kill Slaanesh.
And that's one of the plans.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
This is current year now, so we've gone through basically all of the Eldar history. We're at current year. There's a bunch of different competing factions and ideas in the Eldar society, and not just the Eldars as a whole, but the craft world Eldar of what they want to do. There's some people that are Ynnari that are like, everybody, all the Eldar need to die so we can kill Slaanesh. Others are like, no, we need to just kill 999 demons and just keep doing that forever, and eventually it'll get cleaned up. And everything in between.
Some of the craft worlds have fallen through the axe of the Ynnari, which they've.
What's Ynnari? What is it?
They are the death god cult, essentially, of the craft world.
Jonestown.
So they're... Were they pre-established death gods before the fall, or?
No. The Ynnari are a post-fall thing. They're actually a post. They're a current year thing. They only came about recently, relatively.
Yeah, they're very recent.
Yeah.
But the deities they worship, were they existing before the fall, or
Yes.
are they trying to bring about new?
Yeah, they're trying to wake up the death gods so that
death
I've
gods.
it's only one.
Yened is old lore.
Yeah.
Yened is old lore, like third edition.
Yeah.
So
and
Yened has been around for a while.
It's all convoluted. Some of the logic doesn't logic to me. Like,
no, it's Eldar logic, so that makes sense.
Yeah. It's 3,500 different explanations.
I would love to continue, but I'm getting hand signals waved at me by Kato that I need to help him load his stuff. So I probably won't be able to finish this out.
Yeah, I got you.
Just some other things that I would like to bring up is the Phoenix Lords are cool, or the Phoenix Lords, Phoenix Warriors, whatever you want to call them, are cool as hell.
Yeah.
And then the reason that I love the Eldar, I think that and the jet bikes are the coolest parts of the Eldar, period. And also, you have to talk about shuriken weapons.
Oh, I will. That is part of technology.
Shuriken weapons are so cool. Yeah. But I am sorry that I do have to bounce out.
Yeah, I got you.
I totally thought he was going to take longer to get this done and get it ready, but I had to help him load 600 pounds of gear into a van.
I got you. Yep.
See you around.
See you, Alf.
It was great meeting you. I hope you
Yeah,
enjoy
it was
yourself.
great meeting you too. Thank you.
And also, again, I apologize for my dog shit audio quality. I'm going to go see if I can go to a Best Buy and find a solution
It
to
didn't
this
sound bad at all. You're fine.
All right. Bye.
See ya.
Yep.
See ya.
Technology.
First up is organization, because that's a thing.
Okay.
Alright. Kindred, religion. Where the fuck are the paths? Sorry, I have to look through all this shit.
That's alright. We're just doing a recording. You're fine.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a bunch of fucking paths. So how the Craft World Eldar are laid out is in charge of each craft world there is a council of seers who essentially look into the future and guide the Eldar as best they can. This is where a lot of the expeditionary forces come from and are organized.
Expeditionary forces?
The ones that go out and fuck with the galaxy so they can, supposedly. That's what they say. Below that, there's a bunch of fucking paths. You have the Path of Awakening, the Paths of Awakening, the Artisan Command, which I'm assuming is, administrative stuff, of the Dreamer, Grief, the Mariner, which I'm assuming is, naval shit, the Outcast, which is Rangers, Player, I'm assuming some sort of musician, Savant, which I think is probably scholars and stuff. Service, the Seer, and the Warrior. The two most important are the Seer, which helps guide Eldari society, and then you have the Warrior, which helps the Seer do their job. Let me just.
So when you say seer, these are actual
They can see the future. They can see.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they can see infinite possibilities within the future based on what decisions one might make. To go down from that, You have the Path of the Warrior is what we know the most about because it's a tabletop war game. And the members of the Path are aspect warriors. And you've got each aspect is essentially a different kind of trooper. You've got Dire Avengers, which are essentially riflemen. You've got Howling Banshees, which are close in like melee fighters and the like. The Striking Scorpions, which is a stealthier version of the Howling Banshees. They are akin to, I'm guessing, like Rangers or Commandos or something like that. You have the Fire Dragons, which specialize in Eldar flame incendiary weapons technology, which is fucking horrifying. The Swooping Hawks, which are airborne jetpack troopers. You have the Dark Reapers, which are they're heavy weapons support. You have the Crimson Hunters, which are pilots, as opposed to the Swooping Hawks. Yeah, airborne. Then you have Warp Spiders, which are they're teleporting close combat specialists. They have some very, very terrifying gears here. Rare aspects include the Shining Spears, which is what he was talking about with Jetbike. In fact, let me post this in Conclave Chambers. They are goofy Jetbike boys with lances. You also have the Shadow Specters, which are they're anti-tank infantry, essentially.
Are these just like military factions in the craft world?
They're aspect warriors, which is just a fancy way of saying the various arms of an army. Imagine taking, like, how the U.S. Army once upon a time had cavalry branch, armored branch, artillery, infantry, and air corps. That's kind of what these guys are. That's what the different aspects signify.
Okay.
Eagle pilots are just fighter pilots. Not much known about them. This, you can't talk about aspect warriors without talking about guardians. The guardians are essentially reserve troopers, like National Guard, weekend warriors, kinda.
Weekend warriors.
Yeah, they follow their whatever the fuck paths in civilian life, and whenever the craft world is under threat, they get pulled in and here gun go shoot.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Okay, I was pretty close about the other paths. Each of these aspects has what is called a Phoenix Lord, which is essentially, it's a combination of champion, like old school medieval army champion, and like the commanding officer of like an army branch or something. They are Eldar that are lost down the path, and they can't really come back. They essentially got addicted to the violence and said, "Hey, I'm going to stay on this path, and you can't do shit about it."
Do you think that's ever risky for them to get addicted to the violence too much? Or?
That the risk of getting addicted to the violent, like there's a risk to it, and the outcome of that risk is you become a Phoenix Lord, or you get stuck down the path, which is you are considered lost to wider Eldar society, essentially.
What do you mean, like lost, like banished, or?
More like a dead man walking type thing. Like it's you essentially get overtaken by the spirit of the Eldar that more or less created your aspect as an institution from way the fuck back. You don their arms and armor, and you become possessed, essentially. I think that's how that works.
Possessed.
Phoenix Lord. The Phoenix Lords are amongst the most ancient and renowned heroes of the Eldar race. Should they be vanquished, their essence will lie dormant inside their armor until it is donned by another Eldar warrior whose soul resonates. Should they prove worthy enough to combine souls, the Phoenix Lord will be reborn in a new body.
That's why they call it the Phoenix Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. There are also
Okay, we're still talking about organization, right?
yeah. Do you have any questions about that?
I do. Alright, so organization of the craft world. I just have a simple question. I don't have these deep, crazy questions.
Yeah, I
I
get
just
you.
have questions that any outsider might have. Is that, I mean, in the grimdark reality that is the 40k universe, are they at all having fun in the craft world, or is it like we're just stuck in here, like biding our time? Like, is it just like being stuck in like a doomsday
as
thing?
far as I can understand, it is probably some of the best living you can have in 40k. It is paradoxically liberal and conservative as a society, but from my understanding, they don't really want for much. They have advanced technologies that gives them power, water. They might have to import food, but that's not really an issue. If Eldar society would be dreary, which I don't know if a human would see it as such, because you got all these people doing all these cool and fantastical things. If it would be seen as dreary, it's more like a self-imposed societal thing rather than I'm trying to think of a word, brain not working.
It's alright.
The circumstances of their living. Like, this actually goes really well into technology. Craft worlds are continent-sized spaceships.
That's freaking huge.
They have, some of the larger ones have been described as small moons.
That's freaking huge.
Yeah, they are massive constructs. They're only really possible due to Wraithbone, which is essentially
Did I say Wraithbone a lot? What is Wraithbone?
I was just about to get into that. Wraithbone is... It is essentially the warp-made material. It is a psychically reactive material that they more or less pull out of the warp, I think. One second, let me check.
Like it's made out of physical matter? It's like an element that comes from the warp?
Element might be stretching the term of the definition of element, but primary construction material. Shut the fuck up. Add. Okay. So they use it to make almost everything. It is a psychic conductor, structure and armor, stuff like that. It is a psychoplastic material that is highly resilient to damage and capable of limited self-repair. It and other building materials of the Eldar will grow and react more like living tissue than building materials of other intelligent species. Yeah, it doesn't say where specifically it comes from. But...
What's the significance of it?
They use it to make everything, and it can be damn near anything.
It's also really strong. It's like tougher than Terminator armor.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Wait,
well, that depends on what use they make it for. Like, if they're using it to make, like, body armor, it's not really set in its structure, let's say. There's instances where, like, on impact, areas of, like, Wraithbone armor can harden to better, absorb the impact. Or it can draw more material towards that area to help thicken the armor. It's...
So think of it as like the crisis suit when you press the left bumper.
Yeah.
And activate hardened mode.
You can do a fuckload with Wraithbone, from what I understand. And as far as I can tell, they just grow it. Artisans can... sorry, go ahead.
They grow it? Like it's a plant?
I'd imagine it's closer to, like, growing...
Synthetic? Maybe, like, growing synthetic stuff in the lab?
Like, lab-grown meat is what I'm imagining, but I imagine it's more like... It could also very well be more similar to, like, mold or fungus.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In that it grows out, like, you don't have to plant the seed and cut it down. It's like, oh, hey, one sec, let me pull out my Wraithbone flute. And then there's a chair. Yeah.
A chair?
Yeah. Artisan...
So it's not weapons.
No, it's damn near anything. Artisans use Wraithbone, and they use, like, musical instruments and shit to shape it. There are, however...
I thought you were joking about the flute thing.
No.
Oh, shit, I thought you were...
No.
Okay.
It seems ridiculous, but that's just how it be.
That sounds awesome, man.
Yeah, there's even a specialty... It's like, is there a specific path for bone singers? Okay, it is... Bone singers are the path of shaping. They are psychically active Eldar, which is saying something. and they use their mastery of like their connection to the warp and a musical instrument to craft more complex items, such as weapons, vehicles,
Fuck.
armor, explosives, that kind of shit. And
I really like that.
yeah, they use like any number of like weird Eldari instruments to shape it, and
They make good bards, I'm sure.
oh boy, can they make some stuff. So in 40K, or in the Imperium of Man, they have hover tech, but it's not really that common. The Eldar have hover tech. It is very common. Their main tank, their main like combat vehicles are, all of their vehicles are hover, unless we're talking like combat walkers and stuff.
Alright, that's cool. Their stuff hovers.
Yeah, they don't really use a lot of chain weapons like the Imperium of Man does. They use a lot of power weapons, though, which is essentially a sword covered in a sheath of energy, or a field, that disrupts matter on contact.
That's pretty cool. So if humans were fighting them, like, what is it that humans can do to counteract all this crazy technology?
Numbers.
Numbers, got it.
Artillery, stuff like that.
We got stuff of our own, don't worry.
Yeah.
It just seems like whenever I think about the human tech, it's wild how that shit works.
So
like, how are they still like so strong?
It depends on the faction of humanity. Space Marines, if they're facing Eldar, will. It depends on the chapter too. They can more or less match them in on a technological level, or more on a power level, just given the sheer scale of their equipment. Like, we're talking dirt bikes the size of minivans here.
Yeah.
And, fully automatic rocket-propelled grenade launchers and shit. Space Marines are fucking insane. Anyway, the borderline, the Imperium of Man has advanced technology.
I'll be right back, sorry.
Yeah, I got you.
Dog's up his noggin for a poo.
Yeah, I got you. They have a lot of technology. However, the Eldar would view this technology as like everyday stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring too.
Yeah, they've got all kinds of shit. It's just weird.
So it's kind of like maybe if a human like a modern human civilization invaded, I don't know, like an island of people with,
it's
not as good technology, but they had a lot of numbers.
Okay, so it's more like it's more comparable to like a platoon of Marines going up against 1939 Wehrmacht.
Yeah.
Like a platoon a platoon of Marines, or like a detachment of Marines on like a fucking LHD or some shit, rocks up on 1939 Germany, essentially.
1939 Germany, yeah. That's what I'm figuring. Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, like that comparison.
Yeah. And like I said, some of the technology that the Eldar have makes ours look puny and pathetic. It's mostly ranged weapons, because they're close combat weapons. It's just like it's stuff we have, but slightly better. Chain weapons, power weapons, force weapons, which are psychically attuned. They have some combi weapons with like close combat attachments. However, it's when you get into their ranged weapons. Breath of Yin is. You are very muted, Lion.
He sounds like the microphone's inside his pocket.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, so you've got sniper rifles like the Breath of Yin, which is essentially one of the most quiet weapons you could imagine on a battlefield. You have the D-Scythe, which is a vortex weapon, which it essentially shoots a hole in reality and creates a vortex of swirling warp bullshit that kills you and sucks your soul directly into the world.
What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that is like...
Yeah. They have melta weapons, but it's like way more advanced than what humanity has. They have plasma weapons, though not really. Actually, they don't.
No, wait, hold on. I want you to go back to that last thing. Tell me about that thing that sucks your soul into the world.
Okay, so
what is it, like? Is it a bullet? What
no,
is it?
It's it depends on what faction uses it. Vortex weapons are horrifying.
Tell me more about those.
It opens a portal into hell, essentially.
Okay, but like, how is it used? Is it like?
It's like I said, it depends on the faction.
Describe one of them.
The Eldar, they essentially just like shoot a beam that opens a rift in reality. The Imperium has them, but it's more like rockets and grenades.
For the Imperium, or are you talking about the Eldar?
For the Imperium, it's like rockets and grenades, and it's like specialized munitions. The Eldar straight up just have guns that cut open reality.
Okay, so theoretically, if you had a pistol that shoots a vortex bullet, is that even possible? Right? Am I getting somewhere? Fine.
I don't think they have like So the D-Scythe, or the vortex weapon of the Eldar, is a heavy weapon. So I don't think they'd have a pistol like that.
Fine, a heavy.
Yeah,
I don't know, fucking
go
thing
ahead.
that fires from your shoulder.
Sorry,
no, okay.
I nerd out about this shit.
Guys.
Yeah,
I don't care. I love that shit. Anyway,
if you had it, go ahead.
If there was like a shoulder-fired cannon, okay, is that more in line with that?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so if you shoot at someone, does it open a portal on them?
Yes.
What does it look like to kill that person?
They essentially just get sucked into a black hole of misery and soul fucking.
Oh my god, that's just it's a violation of spiritual rights.
The Eldar actually view it as a particularly vile weapon.
It's vile.
Yeah,
You're sending someone to hell.
Which is saying something.
That's horrible. I was like, we don't ever have to think about that stuff today. Like, we have the Geneva Conventions, but that's only for like physical warfare. What if we had a weapon that can send someone to hell? Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
horrifying.
Not fun.
That is horrifying. That is horrifying.
They do have las weapons like the Imperium, but it's like comparing a 22 to a fucking 50 cal.
Yeah, the flashlight.
It is so much more advanced and dangerous.
Oh, for sure. I don't doubt that.
Like, they have laser lances and las blasters and shit, and it's essentially like shoulder fired anti-tank laser rifles.
Yeah, it's like a freaking Spartan laser on steroids, I bet.
Yeah. Then they have needle weapons, which is essentially just dart gun that shoots poison. It's humanity has it, but again, they have it, but it's a little bit better.
Right now, sorry, go ahead.
No, we.
Right now, it's the year 2024.
Yeah.
That means our Eldor currently ruling the galaxy and having planet-wide orgies. Technically, right?
Probably, yeah. At this point in the 40K timeline, yes, they would be doing that.
They're not the peak. They're like at the end of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're closing on it.
They're closing on the peak of it.
They're a few dozen millennia away, but they're closing on it.
Yeah, they're enjoying the last few planet-wide orgies they could have.
Yeah. Go to finish out the last of the Eldar armory and most of their tech. They have monofilament weapons, which is shooting a net of monomolecular wire, essentially.
Monomolecular. Oh shit, that's super thin.
Yeah.
Wait, technically, can that like go through you?
Yeah.
Like it's freaking. Basically, it's like radiation if it's monomolecular.
No, it is a 100% physical effect.
Still physical?
Yeah, it will.
So it can cut you into like little dice.
Yeah.
Dice.
So
super clean, I bet.
Yeah,
super
monomolecular weapons are the monomolecular weapon I'm looking at. The Death Spinner fires a little net monomolecular wire.
Monomolecular wire? Fucking hell.
Yeah, and it can cut through you on an atomic level.
Yeah, but like, is it like, okay, so if you cut off someone's head with that thing, it's like, it'll cut off your head, right? Like, if you. I bet that's like the cleanest fucking cut.
Oh, yeah, no, it is. It is
down to the single yeah. That's wild. I've never thought of that. Okay, yeah, technically, okay, wait, before we go further, I want to do some like nerdy, like theoretical hypotheticals.
Go ahead.
Can you have like a monomolecular blade, monomolecular laser, monomolecular bullets? That sounds cool. Imagine a monomolecular laser.
Okay, so the monomolecular laser would be. I'm sure there's a use for it. I haven't heard of it. Not in real life, not in 40K. I'm sure it exists. The monomolecular bullet is what I'm about to get to next. There are monomolecular weapons.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah, most of them are like anything the Eldar have, we can assume is monomolecular. You can have monomolecular knives, axes, swords, stuff like that.
I bet that shit is super like thin.
I'm not sure about the blade, but the edges, and they cut good.
Oh, maybe the edges, yeah.
Yeah.
But like imagine having like a paper thin, not even paper, just like a monomolecular thin blade, but like it's still a blade on the side, but like at a certain angle, it starts to look invisible. That sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, that freaked me the fuck out.
Unless you're talking about like it's like a lightsaber, but it's monomolecular, so it's like invisible in all angles.
That's just a power sword.
Really?
Oh wait, no, never mind. I said that before.
Monomolecular.
Yeah, no.
If it was monomolecular, it'd be like invisible to the human eye.
Yeah. The Death Spinner, which is the primary monofilament weapon of the Eldar, shoots. Have you ever seen a cobweb?
Yeah, I've seen a cobweb.
Okay, imagine one of those made out of like monomolecular fiber being shot at you.
It's gonna dice you up into pieces, man.
Mincemeat comes to mind.
Oh my god, that's horrible.
Yeah.
And honestly, if it's truly monomolecular, that means like from an outsider looking at that, it's like you shoot like nothing at them and they just suddenly become.
Well, I think they're like energetically charged because they glow slightly as projectiles, but
Okay, but like at the end of the day, like
yeah,
as soon as
no,
it hits them,
you
they
wouldn't
just
see the
like, turn into
physical
mush.
projectile, no.
Yeah, like they'll just turn into just like mush, right?
Yeah.
That's
And
horrible.
then we get into this shuriken weapons, which is they can have anything from pistols to tank weapons, and I think maybe even ship weapons. But they fire little discs of monomolecular crystal or substance, wraithbone, I think is.
Okay.
And it does what it says on the tin. It fires a shuriken of monomolecular material at your target.
Why is that so? What makes that more effective than an Imperium's bullets, though? Why are they using that? It doesn't seem cool. It doesn't seem very effective to fire shurikens at people.
Yeah, there's very little, like physical protection you can take against something like that.
Why? Well, why is it hard to dodge shurikens?
Well, it's to stop shurikens. You need essentially energy shields or very thick, very heavy armor, because it's a monomolecular edge, and it will cut through damn near anything.
Anything, shit.
Physical, yeah. And they can have these in fucking submachine guns that fire at like 1200 RPM or some shit. But
I see.
That about covers their armory. They have a lot of like hollow field generators and stuff like that. They have what are called Wraith Guards, which is Wraithbone constructs piloted by Eldari Soulstones, and a whole bunch of other shit. It's like their technology is so advanced it would look like magic to us.
Yeah, that's
I think that'll about cover everything about the Eldar. Are there any questions you might have?
Let's see.
When do you think we're gonna wipe them out?
What? What was the question?
What?
It's just the lion being which of the or what was
which
it?
Which of who's gonna wipe them out?
Yeah.
Which of who? What do you mean?
What? I didn't say anything.
Do you mean the Space Marines? Who?
Anyway.
Wait. I want to know. Okay, here's my question. Mm-hmm. Where are we now at the current state of affairs in the Warhammer universe? So, the only thing I know about Eldar was what I've been asking. But I do know if people say that Gilliman has an Eldar GF. I mean, obviously that is
a meme.
I know it's a meme, but I want to know what that's about. So she revived him. Why?
Yeah, she helped revive him.
Your plan? What's your Rain's plan?
So
where are we going?
Her plan with that was essentially to get the Imperium in a state that it could better fight chaos, so that she could have room to do her bullshit with Ynid.
She also wanted to control Gilliman.
Oh yeah, that too.
But she failed.
Well, I mean, of course she does. I mean, I think everyone at this point is counting on humanity to stop chaos. Like, are they the only ones that can stand up to him?
There's the Necrons,
I heard the Necrons can. Yeah, I heard the Necrons also had a.
They actually have technology that can nullify, like warp influence in reality. However, it's not very good for humans. Imagine radiation, but for the soul. Like
Oh,
radiation
shit.
poisoning. Yeah.
Wait, what? Okay, tell me about radiation poisoning for the soul.
So essentially they have these giant, like, field
Who?
emitter, the Necrons.
Okay.
They have these giant field emitters that can emit a field that nullifies the influence of the warp on reality. However, this will make humans, after enough exposure, soul dead.
Oh, kind of like them. Is that why they are the way that they are? Because apparently they kind of do have souls, right? But they're kind of dead inside.
It
They're like
depends on
void,
the
no.
individual. Your basic Necron warrior is like most of their soul and mind was consumed by the Catan, and then like their upper leadership still retains a measure of sentience. Well, not a measure. They are sentient, and they just don't have a lot of their soul left.
How do you not feeling?
Yeah.
Cutting off. You keep
Okay.
cutting off. Say it again.
It's just me. What did I cut off there?
That's just the first part of that sentence that you were saying.
Damn it. My memory is shot. I forgot what I said.
It's okay. So did I.
Anyway, do you have any further questions? Because I think this is about good time to cut it.
I think I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. Eldar. Or Craftworld Eldar.
Yeah.
Rampaging space hobos.